Hey guys, Nick here, and today we will be seeing what the Supreme Kai's plans for Majin Buu are, and how these plans will differentiate from just taking care of Buu's ball. This is part 7 to What If Vegeta Raised Tarble. In the last episode, we ended off with Babidi and his forces being defeated, and the Supreme Kai getting ready to tell the group his actually good plan behind taking care of Buu. He then goes on to tell the group that when he saw Vegeta's Force Spirit Vision at the tournament, that actually got him to thinking. And then he tells the group about all the other Kais, and then his master, the Grand Supreme Kai, and how the Grand Supreme Kai and the Southern Supreme Kai were absorbed within Buu. And if that very state of him is still in this ball, and it's not his pure evil version, there might be a way to free the other two. And they will still need to take care of the evil Buu, so this has to be a fully staged plan if they're actually going to free the other Kais. Tien then steps up to the plate and says if they really need to, right before Buu finishes transforming it back into his pure evil self after Vegeta or whoever else uses the Force Spirit Vision, right before he transforms back into his evil state, he can use the evil containment wave to seal him away. So that way, he'll just be sealed all over again. Except this time, it can actually be dealt with in a manner where no one will ever find the container for Buu. And the Supreme Kai is pretty happy with this idea. And he didn't expect this from a mere human, if anything. But then again, Supreme Kai never really did much to, shadow himself from other gods. He didn't really fit the plate for a Supreme Kai, if you guys know what I'm saying. So it's kind of obvious that he wouldn't know about the evil containment wave. So afterwards, and after getting together the plan, Supreme Kai teleports all the group outside Babidi's ship. And Kibito's still alive here because he never got iced by Deborah. And right whenever they get outside the ship, the Supreme Kai yells out to everyone to power up their greatest attacks and fire at the ship. And granted, he did not want this to happen before they got to the ship, but after realizing what everybody can do, this plan will definitely work. And with everybody's pure, full power attacks, the entire area, Babidi's ship, the wasteland around it, countless mountains, and plant life are destroyed by this humongous attack. And this is all the Saiyans, all the Earthlings, and Piccolo blowing up the ship and all around it. This is to make sure that Buu gets out, because Babidi got little to no energy, so this has to happen. And when the dust clears, a pink blob resurfaces and forms into Majin Buu. So Majin Buu has finally been awakened, and he doesn't really know what to think. That his introduction is much like his canon counterpart, just all happy-go-lucky and not really caring about anything. He's just and just being himself, basically. After this happens, and reaffirming that this is indeed the form that houses his master, the Grand Supreme Kai, then he knows that he is the first one to free, and that there's a chance to free him and the Southern Supreme Kai. And he yells out to Vegeta, knowing him to be the strongest, as previously affirmed at the tournament grounds, to attack Buu with everything he's got, because he won't care. Vegeta, not really wanting to take orders, especially even if it's a god, previously stating that to Shin, to his face, just was like, whatever, if this will get this all over with, then fine, and rushes towards Buu and punches him square in the face. Now Buu, actually gaining some kind of understanding what's going on, is quite angry at the fact that he just got out and is already being attacked. And right before he can actually make his move, he starts to feel strange. And then he starts to feel weak. And then just then, the Grand Supreme Kai just pops out of nowhere. And he is dazed, confused. He doesn't know where he is, what has happened. Last thing he remembers is that he was fighting Boo, and all his fellow Kais were dead, and he was just about to save Shin. But there's Shin is, there's Kibito, and he doesn't know what's going on. But with Boo, he's transformed or devolved back into his buff form for whenever he absorbed the Southern Supreme Kai. And now everyone's starting to see what the Supreme Kai meant by his pure evil state, because he's slowly getting there. But there's another Kai to be saved. So while the Supreme Kai reaffirms that Boo is definitely devolving back into his pure evil state and that they need to act quickly, Tien readies out the capsule for the evil containment wave, while the Supreme Kai urges Vegeta to go and attack Boo one more time, because the Southern Supreme Kai is still in there, but they need to make this quick. And Vegeta, once again, he's holding back a lot of his pride for having to be told what to do, even if it's a god, a very lax god, if he does say so himself. But he redoes this with Boo still not paying any mind, because it's a mindless Boo now completely. And the Southern Supreme Kai is popped out of Boo. He just pops out of nowhere, just like the Grand Supreme Kai. And he, like the Grand Supreme Kai, is just as equally confused. And now Boo has begun to transform or devolve? ? It wouldn't be considering devolving, considering it's supposedly most powerful state, if you don't count Buhan, because that can be argued. Anyways, he's beginning this transformation back into Kid Boo, and this is the group's opportunity to strike, because if he actually goes through the transformation, they're all dead. They're all dead. Maybe, but anyway, Tien readies out the evil containment wave capsule and gets the jar ready. And just when Boo's about to transform back into his kid state, Tien opens his moment to strike and uses the evil containment wave and seals Boo away. And then, right then, the Supreme Kai and Kibito take the capsule, because they're going to make dead sure that this capsule can never be found. And with this all out of the way, we now have a big plus. The Grand Supreme Kai and Southern are back. So that means we have even more Kais at the table now, besides Supreme Kai and Kibito. But now it's all said and done, here's something interesting. Who gets to train with the Z-Sword? Because the Supreme Kai still feels that this reward should be very much gifted with the group's help, because they not only got the Grand and Southern Supreme Kais back, but they stopped Boo forever. Now, with the Grand Supreme Kai and the Southern back, as well as the influence of Elder Kai's decision mixing in, who gets to train with the Z-Sword? Because in many of my other stories, it was apparent and obvious as to who the people would be. But with extra influence, it's very hard to tell. But at the same time, this opens a big opportunity. Now, it should come as no surprise that Vegeta and Tarble will be the first two to get this training. So, they will have their potentials unlocked first. But after, like I said, with extra Kai influence, 3 Kai, 4, 5 Kais to be exact, Supreme Kai, Kibito, Southern, Grand, and Elder Kai, that means that everybody else, Goku, Raditz, Nappa, Gohan, Piccolo, Yamcha, Krillin, everyone else alongside Vegeta and Tarble gets the ultimate power-up. So everyone is Mystic in this scenario, upping everybody's gains considerably, more so than any of my other stories, for the most part. But with all that out of the way, and all the warriors getting massive power-ups, and even more Kais at the table, everything is set in stone perfectly for the end of Dragon Ball Z. But now, we enter Dragon Ball Super territory, and the realms of the God of Destruction, Beerus' Awakening, as well as his attendant Whis, but there's not too much to say about him specifically, other than we already know. But, with all this said, how will this go with everyone's mystic power-ups? And with plenty of Saiyans, who will become the Super Saiyan God? And how will the rest of Dragon Ball Super come into play? And that's where we leave things for the moment. Hope that you guys liked this end to the Buu saga. It's not often that you see me covering 2 parts to one specific saga in a scenario. But I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. And like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you guys next time.